today, guys, we are going to be talking about the laws of race mixing, i.e., kind after kind. And Scattered, you brought this up to us, so how would you want to start us off here?
Well, as I've been going through making my own notes, I left them in the Discord for everybody also to take a look at. Um, we've had so many, obviously, combats or arguments, whatever, with clowns on Gab, and obviously, I'm sure some of us have had it in our real lives too, as far as the whole kind after kind doctrine of Christian identity. Uh, that's said, I didn't start with kind after kind in Genesis. What I did start with was the metaphorical tree. In Genesis 2:17, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, where ice or als, I'm not going to try to phonetically properly adjust it, appears 161 times, translated as tree throughout the Old Testament. And there are numerous examples of just exactly it being a metaphor for peoples. And specific peoples, exactly. And the parable of the trees in Judges chapter 9, verses 8 through 16, tell you what kinds of trees that all the Israelites were, different kinds of trees. And then it goes into the bramble trees and the thorn briars, wanting to rule over those said trees who didn't want to rule over each other, and they didn't want to be ruled over by their own kinsmen. All different trees, and this is kind of where I started getting into where I started understanding, I should say, that race mixing is a sin, was just by these metaphors. You'll also see it from Psalm 1:3, Isaiah 10:19, 55:12, 56:3, Jeremiah 2:20 to 23, 11:19, 17:8, Ezekiel 17:24, 20:47, 31 verses 10 through 18, and 34 27, Haggai chapter 2 verses 10 through 19. You'll see all of these metaphors, trees being cut down, as in peoples, including our own kin, the true Israelites, for our sins. So I wanted to bring the trees up first because that's the most important thing, where everybody assumes that Eve ate some kind of apple or fruit or whatever.
Right. The one point I used on my mom actually yesterday. I'm like, well, what is the tree of life? And every Judeo-Christian can be like, oh, well, Jesus, obviously. Okay, what's the other tree then?
Yeah,
It's just a regular tree with an apple.
Yeah.
It's spiritual.
Yeah, spiritual.
Yeah. It's they say the first sin is like just disobeying God, but it's not. They don't go into why God told them not to do it. They just said, like, if you ever hear them try to explain it away, they'll normally go into saying like, oh, it was just a random command that God gave, and see if they would disobey it, and they did.
yeah,
That's
exactly.
normally how their line of thought goes.
So like God's like some kind of clown just messing with you.
Yeah. He said, hey, don't touch the red button over here. There's no actual reason. Just don't touch it. And then Eve was like, oh, I can't help myself.
Adam, you gotta try it.
Yeah, press the red button, Adam.
Yep. But you're absolutely right, Duck. Go to Revelation 22. It says, and he showed me a pure river of water of life, clear as crystal, proceeding out of the throne of Yahweh and of the Lamb, in the midst of the street of it, and on either side of the river, was the tree of life, which bare 12 manner of fruits, and yielded her fruit every month. That's a reproduction thing,
Yeah.
A metaphor. And the leaves of the tree were good for healing of the nations. Healing of the nations is what? Bringing forth more of your kin through
That's
the
right.
next generations. These are all Hebrew idioms written in Greek.
Wow.
So I'm actually glad you brought that up, because that is the tree of life. The tree of life is the Adamic people, and
That's the line.
more specifically, the 12 tribes of Israel.
Yeah.
And in the Revelation, right around that point, the last three chapters, 20, 21, 22, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil isn't even mentioned. It doesn't exist. It would be considered one of those plants that Yahweh God did not plant, that shall be rooted up. Matthew 15:13. And so there you go. I mean, that family tree is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. It will be gone. But going back to, what is it, Revelation 19? I'll tell you in a minute. Give me 1 second here. Keep the conversation going. I'm just looking for something specific.
Well, the point I learned from the Genesis commentary on Chris Again was like, he points out that Adam and Eve are cut off from the tree of life, and that's their death. They don't get to go to paradise, and they don't get to be with God anymore. But people don't. They disconnect the tree aspect. I mean, you make this whole big thing a fairy tale, and then treat it as its fact. Well, no wonder why people will believe nonsense.
Yeah.
Because they don't understand it's a metaphor.
Yeah, they the parts that would be taken literally, they seem to spiritualize and try to talk away, and the parts that are metaphors, they like to take as literal. I've noticed that whenever it comes to distinguishing between what I would call a Judeo-Christian system of belief.
Mm-hmm.
When the actual literal parts come, they spiritualize it away so it can be universalist and accepting.
Yeah, which is so backwards of thinking. Like, he promises his physical seed. Well, no, it's actually spiritual seed. Well, where does it say that? It doesn't say that. But then, oh yeah, definitely a talking snake though, not some weird trickster guy.
Yeah, exactly. The
backwards
I've had this conversation before. Whenever they say that we are grafted in, and those are the people who were divorced, the Gentiles and other lost tribes of Israel that were all divorced for their idolatry.
Yeah.
They are now grafted back in, not niggers and gooks and everything else.
Yeah, the promise never was for anyone.
This is really actually quite simple. I mean, now since I know all this, it's all put together and simple. And I almost wonder, like, how the hell did I believe otherwise in the past?
Oh, I ask myself that almost on a daily basis at this point.
Yeah, it's right there.
God opened your eyes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, praise Yahweh for that.
It can't be anything besides that. Like, you think about it.
You can't unsee it. That's how you know it's the truth, because then you cannot unsee it. And I even, whenever I first started to see it, I even tried to.
Yeah, I mean,
I tried to ignore it and run away from it for a little bit. I was like, that can't be true. That's too. But you can't. What are you going to do? Argue with it? You already know it's true.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And going back to these trees being specific peoples. Well, yeah, exactly. An olive tree is what? That's a parable of Israel, right?
Yeah.
Now, Romans 11, um, Paul's talking about, I think it's like 11:17. Um, Paul's talking about the branches that have been broken off and are
Mhm.
being grafted back in. Well, here's the thing. Go back to Judges 9,
It's the
and
same.
you're looking at brambles and bristles, thorns, briars, whatever. How the hell are those going to get grafted in?
Yeah, they
Make that
don't.
make sense.
Yeah.
Exactly. An olive branch can only receive or an olive tree can only receive an olive branch to be grafted onto it or
That's
back
correct.
onto it.
Back onto it. That's
Right.
correct.
Well, I've seen them like take pear trees, for instance, and graft them into apple trees, but that branch will only always ever produce pears still. It'll never
Yeah.
produce anything else.
Yeah, this is
And
true.
that's not how it's supposed to be either.
Nope. Exactly. It's an
God,
abomination.
Yahweh uproots that.
You put a bad tree branch into a good tree, that branch is only going to produce bad fruit.
Correct.
Exactly. And it will eventually corrupt the whole tree because
Sick.
It's like infection, cancer.
exactly. So what happens is the miscegenation. Well, they were grafted in, and now it's okay to have sex with them, even though they're all mongrel bastards. Blah blah blah. Only because they have genetically similar, I don't know, features, even if it's darker skin or darker eyes or whatever. Because there are plenty of mulattoes that look mostly white.
There's a new thing.
There's still bastard slips.
Yeah.
Everywhere. Yeah, the tears.
Did you guys come across the new Judeo-Tard argument right now?
Which one?
Because we're definitely making waves on Gab right now, so they're trying to develop a weird immune system against us. And the new thing is, there's only two races: Christian and non-Christian.
Oh God.
I actually agree with that, but not for the same reasons that they're saying.
Actually, that is true. You have
They just
demons,
have no
spawn, and
idea.
human.
Exactly. Exactly.
I've came across
And,
like 3 times now.
yeah, they're kind of
I can't be racist. There's only one human race.
exactly.
How am I racist?
Yeah.
I will say back to like the kind after kind stuff. So you like they'll say, "Oh, well, from Adam you can get yellow, black, brown, red because that's what God did." Well, not according to Genesis. After their kind, when God created the Siberian tiger, can it give forth to any other kind of tiger?
No.
No.
Nope.
And
There's
you can't.
actually. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
You can't go outside that reproductive cycle within an animal and say that, well, God made it different when it was Adam or when the nations were dispersed or whatever it is. It's like there might be a natural selection process, but you're never going to get a black person from a white person over 7,000 years.
Yeah.
And you can go to 1 Corinthians 15. It'll say natural body, and it talks about Adam being that seed. It's a physical seed, and whatever comes after that is the good seed. So they don't understand that.
They don't. There's nothing in Scripture to allude that multiple races come from Adam either.
No,
at all.
There's absolutely nothing. The only thing you have is the I don't know if it's Kabbalah or Talmudian whatever that somehow Ham was a Negro because he
was
saw
cursed.
and Ham wasn't even cursed.
Hey,
it was
Canaan.
That's kind of based,
it was
though. You gotta
Canaan.
admit.
It is,
You're
but
black
it's
because
all
you suck.
conjecture. It's all conjecture. Trying to fit niggers and gooks and everything else into the line of Adam is complete conjecture and makes absolutely no sense. It doesn't.
Yeah, so, and that's actually I'm actually glad you said that because that kind of breaks into the next point that on my notes that I made, which was going into what is an Adamic, and an Adamite, and why is it so important? But first, before we get into that, um, I don't know if if you all looked at all the notes in the Discord that I left, but there's four geologists that I labeled. All have books on pre-Adamic races.
Oh, I did see that. Hold on, I'm about to. I'm
So
using my phone. I'm gonna pull up the notes on my
so
computer.
absolutely. So because we have an audience, I'm just going to list them. So in 1946, a man named John Harris wrote the
1856.
1846. Yeah.
Okay.
The book's called, or the essay is called "The Pre-Adamic Earth." In 1860, Isabel Duncan wrote "The Pre-Adamite," or "The Story of Our Old Planet and Its Inhabitants." Matthew Fleming Stevenson, I just left there to actually Google him because he has done a ton of work. He's a geologist, a big name geologist back in the 19th century. Also, what do we got? 1878, geologist Alexander Winchell, Adamites and Pre-Adamites. These are all books and academic works of Negroids.
And these are like prominent people at their
Oh.
time, right?
These
Also,
were
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
these were Duck. Yes, they were all prominent geologists, scientists, actually, and anthropologists. And these are only four of dozens of authors, anthropologists, geologists, whatever you can look up for yourself. These books have been being written up until the I would say post World War II, so about mid 20th century, when everything started getting political, and then eventually in 1965 with the Hart-Celler Act, Negroids became people somehow. They couldn't even pass the 14th Amendment, which tried to say that they're people. They were 3/5 of a person.
I was actually reading a book and talking about the Civil War, and they're saying how it was the 15th Amendment that was the legalization of like Negroids, right?
14th, I believe.
14th. And it was done right after the Civil War, while several of the southern states were occupied by the Northern Army.
Yep.
So right then and there, it is void. It is not a legal piece of document.
Well, and it was never ratified either. So
yeah,
that's the other thing that I'll tell you. In order for an amendment to the Constitution to have any bearing, it has to be ratified by all the states. Obviously, there weren't 50 states back in 1860 or whenever it was written. I don't remember the exact date. I apologize, but nobody saw them as people. I mean, up until the 1950s, you would see a black, and I cringe using the name, but a word, but black is what you see now is a black man in the news, or an African American in the news. Up until like the late 1950s, early 60s, it would say Negro rapes white woman, or Negro goes on shooting spree, or something like that. They weren't people.
Yeah.
The only thing you can find that says they're people is the NAACP prior to World War II. And that was a completely and wholly Jewish-funded and founded organization.
What was that one black kid that like got lynched during the civil rights movement? I forget what his name was.
There's probably a few of them. I don't remember off the top of my head.
The official story is he went into a like a barber shop, and he winked at a white girl, and then all her relatives came and dragged him out into the
Emmett Till.
That's it, yeah. But then
Emmett Till, yes.
You actually look at the real story. He full on tried to rape her in daylight.
His father was lynched, I think, in France for raping white women in World War II.
It's freaking ridiculous.
Oh wow, the apple didn't fall far from the tree. Yeah.
Wow.
Actually, they were both swinging there, but hey. So I don't know if you guys heard about the whole. I think it was in the 19 teens or 1920s. They call it the Black Wall Street or some stupid horse crap.
Yeah. One of their myths.
where Whitey came in and burned it all down for no reason other than they was jealous.
Yeah.
Well, do you know what happened? And you can still find it on Google or Yandex or whatever if you look deep enough. So I don't remember the names involved, but there was a Negro who had to use the restroom, and obviously the restrooms were separated, and the restroom closest to him required an elevator to go up to, I think, like the top floor or
What the heck?
one of the top floors. And the elevator operator was a young lady between, I want to say, somewhere between 16 and 18 years old. So he goes up, uses the restroom. Everything was fine. On the way down, I don't know if she was raped or attempted to be raped, but she screamed for help. And then when the whites tried to get the Negro back to serve him justice, the blacks refused to hand him over until a riot broke out and the whites burned the place to the ground to get to this Negro.
No, all they wanted was justice, and the entire city turned on them, turned on us.
Yep, exactly.
Wow.
And this was, I want to say this was in New Mexico or something like that. I don't remember the exact details off the top of my head. But that whole Wall Street burning down thing, that was because a Negro either, like I said, either raped her or attempted to rape her.
Well, since we're on this subject, would you guys want to segue right into Beast of the Field and the word Enosh?
Um, let's get to Adam first. I
Sure,
mean, this
sure.
was a bit of a digression. I want to try to build this conversation
Yeah.
in not so much alphabetical order, but in
Chronological.
in biblical order. Yeah, chronological order. So what do we have? So back to Genesis 1:26. God Yahweh made Adam in his image, or in their image. Well, we know where Adam comes from, but what does it mean? I don't want to be the lecturer here. Somebody can jump in.
If you're on a roll, dude, just go with it.
It means to turn red in the face, to blush, like the white man.
Exactly. To be dyed red, show blood in the face. So you have H in the concordances, you have H 119 to 124. And I think it's important to hit 123 and 124 only because 123 is Edom, which comes from the word Adam, which means red. But more specifically, it refers to Esau's descendants, the Idumeans, the Edomites, Edom, Mount Seir, and Odem is also used in Scripture as to describe red gems, whether it's a ruby, a garnet, or sardius.
And this is all that same Hebrew word, Adam, right?
Correct. It's just different vowel points.
Which they didn't
Which
have
are,
back then.
they are, yeah, rabbis basically add
Exactly.
those in. So it's basically the same Hebrew word, though, for all this, like Adam, Edom, Odem.
Correct.
And
Absolutely.
Because they claim, what do you call it, scholarship or authority over it. They get to determine these vowel points, even though it's complete fabrication.
Exactly. And so to be able to show blood in the face, there's only one people that can do that. It's you, it's me, it's Faust, it's Adam. Adam, obviously.
I didn't believe that at first when I first started this, and I dug for a good like 8 hours across like a week, just trying to find one video of a legitimate non-Adamite blushing. It doesn't exist. They all wear makeup.
Yeah, you can't find it. They have no capability of showing blood in the face at all. And Adam is actually a compound word of two other Hebrew words. H113, which is Adon, which is interesting. It's from an unused root word meaning to rule or to be sovereign or as a controller, human or divine, lord, master, owner, also compared to Adonai, which is the proper translation in Scripture for Lord, and not his name Yahweh. But I just wanted to make one more point because I wrote this down also from Genesis 1:28. H 350 35:33 is kabosh, and where it says to have dominion over. Kabosh literally means to tread down, to disregard, to conquer, subjugate, violate, subdue, rule over. So Adam was to rule over. Adam coming from Adon, and Dam, and finally we get to Dam, which means blood, blood of a man or an animal, or metaphorically wine or the juice of the grape, but can also mean blood or bloodshed, also to spill blood. And so everything in it is just literally blood red. But more specifically, Adam, to be the ruler, to show blood in the face. Adam was supposed to subdue the entire earth and rule it.
Yes.
And this is where we get that. But he can't rule it unless he shows blood in the face. He's not an Adam if he has no capacity to blush when embarrassed or turn rosy.
Another thing with that I'd like to add in is just because maybe a formerly brown person mixes in to that Adam race, and 10 generations later they can blush, that doesn't matter, because there are laws against that, not only that, and their origin then would not be purely of Adam. And so it's not just that blushing that makes someone white or from Adam, but that's a part of how you know what the origin of Adam is and who Adam is in history.
Yeah.
Is that white, ruddy race.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that goes into Faust. You were mentioning earlier about the one drop rule. While I'm sure we're all familiar with it, could you expound upon that, bouncing off of what Adam just said?
In the one drop rule, where we go over, of course, everybody knows Deuteronomy 23:2, a bastard shall not enter the congregation of heaven. And even in Hebrews, I think, is it 12:8, where he expounds upon that a little bit. From my understanding, there's a link we can go over it where it says, I'd say the best one, the most informative, I'd say, is on Christogenea, where he goes into the biblical standing of the non-white races. Now, there's multiple times throughout the Bible where it goes into bastards, like the whole Bible, and even all throughout history, if you look at it, is just the white race triumphing and conquering, while normally if you see any type of major civilization or empire crash or crater, it's because of mixing. And there's a book, if you don't care to read through all the Christogenea stuff, it's called Race or Mongrel. This actually is kind of like a more secular view on that, which I don't need that to understand all this. But if for those of you interested, it's called Race or Mongrel. I forgot the name of the author, but he goes into and explains all this, that once you start mixing, it's like a cancer, and it spreads and spreads. And that's why Yahweh had made this commandment first and foremost, because these things that you're mixing with are not his. So say, like, it's kind of like with the argument of whenever you try to talk about like a Jew to a Judahite to a Judean. Okay, modern day Jews are no longer Judahites because they have mixed with so many different races that as God's standard, they're no longer his. They're something else completely, and their nature is completely changed.
Even more so than that, though, there were a few Judahites that jumped into the Edomite branch rather than the Judahite branch being the main stock.
Yeah, there's so many, and I was just using that as an example. Yeah.
But we can go to Jeremiah. What is it? Jeremiah 2? Yeah, Jeremiah 2. Give me 1 second. I'll pull it right up.
You had more to add, Faust?
Huh?
Did you have more to add?
Oh,
They wash themselves in niter. Their iniquity is washed. I can't even. You got to go on to the. I think it's 24. Jeremiah 2 is really good.
hold on. I'll pull it up.
It's I got it right here. So verses 20 to 24. For of old time I have broken thy yoke and burst thy bands, and thou says, I will not transgress. When upon every high hill and under every tree, every green tree, thou hast wanderest, playing the harlot. Now, I didn't include this one, obviously, in the tree. It's the same word, ace. I didn't include that one because that could be literal trees, or it could just be metaphorical trees. You're putting yourself underneath other races, other trees. So I wasn't going to jump in there. Yet I had planted thee a noble vine, a holy right seed. How then art thou turned into the degenerate plant of a strange vine unto me?
That's right.
For thou wash thee with niter, and take thee much soap. Thine iniquity is marked before me, says Yahweh. How can you stand and say I am not polluted, and I have not gone after Balaam? I haven't gotten time to get into Balaam, but
We're headed there.
again, the doctrine of Balaam. What do
There
they
it
do? In Numbers 22 to 25, you see the prophet Balaam talking to the Moabite king Balak, telling him that the only way to curse Israel is to make them commit fornication outside of their race with the Moabites.
That's correct.
And the only way that plague was staved off was how?
Purge.
Destroying the race mixer.
Ultimately.
Exactly. So everybody knows where the Phineas eternal priesthood of Phineas comes from, right? So Numbers 25.
I just want to push this out there since we're talking about the vine and whatnot. Deuteronomy 22:9. Do not plant two kinds of seed in your vineyard. If you do, not only the crops you plant, but also the fruit of the vineyard will be defiled. I'm a gardener. Yeah. It don't matter throwing seeds in the garden. They're not going to actually mix. They'll just grow around each other and probably grow bad. If in the context that we're talking, you actually will understand the verse then. Don't mix your seeds, your kids.
Like none. And this goes back to who was we talking to? That Dustin Nemos guy. He was trying to say that certain groups are forbidden, and it's like, no, anyone that's non-white is forbidden. Period. There's not a special group that's okay to mix with, and I think I've actually heard this not just from that guy, but other people as well, and I want that to be made very clear for anyone listening that this is non-whites, period. All of them are forbidden. Not some of them are okay and blah, 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 whatever else.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Now, we do have in our day a huge issue where there are blonde-haired, blue-eyed bastard slips.
Yes.
But that's on Yahweh.
Yeah,
because he knows what's deep down. Even Christ Yahshua himself said, he knows who's who and who's Jew. Mm-hmm. To quote, I think what was it?
Is through biblical discernment.
Yeah. Exactly. We
that's it.
So
you'll know them by their fruits.
Oh, for sure. There's also that also. But again, going back to the seeds, Jeremiah 2:23, how can you say that I am not polluted when you've gone after Balaam?
Yeah.
You are polluted. You have mixed your seed. You are absolutely polluted. And going back to Deuteronomy again, don't mix your seed. Physically, like literal, don't mix your crops. Don't mix your genetics.
Do not plow with an ox and a donkey yoked together.
Exactly.
Just because a nigger says he believes in Jesus doesn't mean you can have babies with him. That's not, That's...
Yep. And if you want to be retarded enough to keep them around your church, that's on you.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't be keeping them near your daughter.
That's right.
Revelation 2, verses 20 through 23, he will kill their children with death.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
Like
a
I
lot of
said, I
these
didn't.
a lot of these statements from Christ where he says all, or you see, oh, all men, or all, the whole world, it's referring to Adam only. And you can see that, I think in Wisdom of Solomon, he defines the world, and it's the world that is Israel. It's a people. Why would God say, I love the world? Does he love the planet? No, he loves the people he created. He doesn't
Yeah.
love the planet. It's the
That's
people.
right.
And it's only the creation, not the corruptions of his creation.
Exactly. And Duck was getting into an argument with some clown on Gab about that exact thing. And literally, they were using, I don't remember which verse they were using
Every
to
single
make.
one that said world.
Oh yeah.
Every single
I
do
think it
that.
was like First John 2:22 or something like that. Something about the
John
world.
3:16. I just honestly
But
started ignoring it because otherwise, like, because it's
yeah,
just repeat.
I literally came in and I dropped in some screenshots of what the world meant in Greek, cosmos,
Yep.
not
Yeah.
not oikoumene, or sorry, I'm butchering it, but so cosmos in early Greek literature, the word cosmos spoke of a building or an establishing a culture or city.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, it was a people. So the order was the people, and in the lexicon, cosmos means order or ornament.
Yeah.
But it also, when it goes back to the Hebrew alignment, it can mean anything from military service, military campaign, military men, troops, heavenly bodies, heavenly entourage, service in the culture, or compulsory labor. That's a people,
Mm-hmm.
no matter how you swing it. You cannot. It's obviously got a broad um, definition depending upon the context, but when they're referring to the world, they're referring to exactly the world that Yahweh preserved. That would be the scattered Israelites.
Yes.
And it's prophesied in Isaiah 27 that Israel would fill the whole world with fruit. So that world that is filled is with Israelites.
The
Mhm.
society of Israelites. You
Yeah.
cannot graft a bramble bush into an olive tree.
Yeah. No matter how much you want, tares ain't going to become wheat.
Exactly.
And you can go to the Greek definition cosmos or oikoumene. Oikoumene is like the inhabited world. It's like
Very specific
a
to the Roman
specific
world,
place
right?
where we live, but it's only the cosmos, which is the order of the people. And then you can even go into the English, the way the King James understood the word world 400 years ago was something completely different to today. It didn't mean the planet even 400 years ago. It only colloquially means planet today. For whatever reason, we think of it as planet, but it doesn't mean that.
Well,
It means age of man.
exactly. It comes from an ancient Germanic language, ver and ald or something like that. Obviously, I'm phonetically going to butcher everything.
It's good.
So I apologize to anybody who's
Nah.
probably going to sit there listening, screaming, "That's not how you pronounce it." I don't really care. Uh, but but
As long as we know what it means in the context, I think we'll be all right.
But exactly. So, and to bounce off of Adam's point there, it is so important to see that the word world that we have now does not mean what it used to mean. It literally meant age of man, and we're not talking Enosh because obviously we're going to be getting into Enosh at some point here, I'm sure. It's literally
Okay.
talking about Adam. the world of Adam, the age of Adam, rather.
Since we're coming back to that a little bit, I'll point out for the listeners, just so you guys know, the word Adam does mean to blush in the face. You will not find that on any concordance that are new or online anymore. It is wiped out. It's gone.
Yep. And in fact, I want to add this too, because this is how bad these bastards are changing everything. There's one of the Adams only appears in Scripture 3 times. I don't remember off the top of my head which one. I think it's 120. Oh, no, I'm not even going to try to guess. Anyways, there's only one. It only appears once, or 3 times rather, and it's referring to a horse each and every time. And so what they did was they redefined it to mean reddish brown. But if you look, but if you've ever seen an Arabian red horse, which have been around for millennia in the Middle East or in the Levant or whatever you want to call it today, Mesopotamia more specifically in Hebron, you will literally find a red freaking horse. Absolutely red.
Yeah.
You cannot mistake it. It's not brown. But this is how deceptive even my software is getting. They're changing things. The little tiny little nuances.
Slowly but surely. You control language. You get to control how information is understood.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. Absolutely. You redefine words, and we'll go into. We'll eventually go into Gentile. I got my not my lexicon, my Latin English dictionary here, sitting here for when we're ready to jump into that. But yeah, that's really where we're.
In your Strong's lexicon, I've noticed this where they start deleting the definitions. Isn't it Strong's 119? That's the to blush.
Yes, 119.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember some of the newer ones. They take it out completely. There's that. I think that guy I sent you a link to of the ancient Hebrew lexicon stuff. I think his is actually removed and he doesn't elaborate on it at all.
Oh, I didn't jump into that far.
I'll have to double check, but I remember looking for it and it was not there last time I looked, unless I completely missed it. But I was like, why would he want to remove that?
Yeah, that's the issue, and that's why trying to find like a 8th or 9th edition Liddell and Scott lexicon for the Greek is important. Trying to find the oldest Brown, Briggs, and Driver lexicon for the Old Testament Hebrew, that's important. And anything probably prior to 1970, if you can get a concordance and a dictionary, not just one or the other, because they will help.
Yeah.
Sometimes the concordance will elaborate further than the dictionary will, sometimes vice versa, which is why it's so important. And most Bible dictionaries actually do use the Strong's numbering systems, so you can follow along. It's not complicated, but if you're not willing to study, you're going to either think that we're heretics, or you're just going to buy hook, line, and sinker everything we say without a single thought of your own.
Right. If you're just a Google warrior, you're only going to get the surface level stuff, which is really wrong.
Yeah.
I just wanted to read this. I have a Gesenius Hebrew and English lexicon. This is an older one from like the 50s. And on there where Adam is, it says to be red or ruddy, fair or handsome, once found and blah, 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 were whiter than milk. Their body was more ruddy than coral. It says whiteness and ruddiness belong to the description of youthful beauty. Hence, it is a mistake to apply the word, I don't know what that says, in this place's meaning clear whiteness, as Bockhart and Latin persons use. But those who defended this opinion would have hardly adopted it. Okay. It says, so called from the idea of redness, compare and the ancient Arabs distinguished two races of men, one red and ruddy, which was called the white race, and the other the black race. Says it right there.
Yep. Which lexicon is that one?
That is a Hebrew and English lexicon, Gesenius.
Oh, that was Justinius. Oh, God.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
This is an old one I managed to find about a year or so ago. It is 1952.
Nice.
And
Yeah. That's another one. I thank you for bringing that up because I totally forgot about Justinius.
And I have a Strong's. It's a Riverside edition. It's called Crusader, I think, like 1970.
Okay.
Crusade Bible Publishers, and it has the to show red, ruddy. It has that 119 right there to flush or turn rosy. Actually, it says straight up to show blood in the face, flush or turn rosy, right there. You won't. I actually have a newer concordance that I had got not too long ago for my old lady to use for her studying, and it's the definition's a little different. I have to go dig it and look at it.
That's not a surprise. That's absolutely not a surprise. I mean, they're burning down or melting down statues of General Lee, for God's sake. They're trying to erase us from the earth.
Yeah.
So that should be common to understand.
Oh yeah.
This is, and that's another point too we should make, is that this has been going on for thousands of years now.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say that the end is nigh, but it's only going to get harder here because we're not risen up yet.
Mm-mm. It's not getting any easier.
No, absolutely not. We're being consumed. What is it? Revelation 17. We're being consumed by all the tongues, tribes, and nations and languages that have come against us.
Yeah.
I mean, look at America. We're getting absolutely decimated, consumed. Europe, South Africa. South Africa is all but gone now, sadly. Australia is getting toasted. Only white nations, only Adamic nations.
The funny thing is the non-Adamic races cannot support. They'll crumble under their own weight. They cannot support themselves. This has been proven historically as well.
Oh yeah, and there's also the prophecy. And oh gosh, I'm going to screw it up. I don't remember who said it. Maybe somebody can help me. There's also the prophecy that when they do come to destroy us, they'll turn on each other and start killing each other. So Faust, you know where I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
I can't think of it off the top of my head. I apologize.
Come on, Duck, help me out. I'm drawing a blank too here, bud.
You are both more experienced than me.
Doc,
man, if you wouldn't have said that, I would have told you in about 5 minutes.
That's the worst part, right? Like I know that I should know this off the top of my head because I've quoted it a million times, but my brain's toast.
Hold on, I'll have to pull it up. But it reminded me of, I don't know if any of y'all have ever read the book. I don't really care for the guy himself, but Turner Diaries, William Pierce, and that's kind of what happens at the end of that book. All the niggers, basically, the white people are able to buy themselves into like the establishment military and get in there, and the niggers just like, oh, give me some money, and you can get inside the enemy headquarters because they don't have any loyalty or anything.
Yeah, and that's just it. None of them have loyalty. I mean, the Jews are notorious for killing their own just to get ahead. Yeah, oh god, yeah, it's unbelievable.
Was it Stalin killed off 80% of his hierarchy, which were primarily all Jews?
Yeah, and look at what was it? Trotsky, Leon Trotsky got an ice pick to the back of the head.
Really?
I mean, that Jew got ice picked by a Jew.
Yeah,
and it's like, wow, these dumb sons of bitches.
they can't ever go really much any further than like a certain point. They collapse off their own like immorality.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
They're just
absolutely. But
so
look at
traitorous.
look at the lies. They've said so many now. They're accidentally speaking the truth everywhere, whether it's Twitter or on the news. It's like there was some CNN, some Jew admitting that the Jews are causing all sorts of problems. What the fuck?
Yeah.
It's like now they can't even keep their story straight, and the truth's starting to slip out. It's like,
I like how everybody's figuring out, like with it was the other day with all the stuff going around with in Ireland. That's kind of a good red pill for a lot of what I call normies, I'd say. But there was
yep,
a Jew on there. He was saying about how Irish are pro-Palestinian and everything, and and somebody had commented said, "Aren't y'all literally backing and for all of our immigration policy and letting these people in?"
yeah.
And it's like everyone's wising up to it. It's like I don't. It's like almost to like just are they like just getting sloppy or
I think I think it's a combination of the fact that what we were just saying about they're just being so degenerate that they start crumbling down upon themselves. But I also think it's Yahweh,
Yeah.
um,
yeah.
more so than I do anything else. I think it's Yahweh
Yeah.
literally making them fuck up or slip up rather. Just so his people will start waking up slowly.
What's in darkness will be brought to light.
And that's the other side of the
And
coin too. We're all
Correct.
waking up.
yeah, and it's kind of like
I'm
a
actually
mass
surprised.
awakening.
My friend, who is probably going to end up listening to this, bless his heart, uh, he's Jew pilling his mom now, his in-laws. Like he's dropping the 100 proofs video on people. It's like,
Just man, trying
Nice.
that 10 years ago.
oh
Oh yeah.
oh, dude,
Nothing.
you would be you would be an outcast for the rest of your life, dude. I've lost so many damn friends just from the last 4 years saying whites are
I,
Israel.
I I would also like to point out that that's why so many misinformation and shills are popping up out of nowhere is to try to clog the truth. If you send
Oh
out
yeah.
so much, it's just well poisoning. You send
Mhm.
out so much crazy shit, and people will just begin. That's basically the only shot they got at hiding everything.
That's why Q
Oh yeah.
exists.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like keep.
exactly. That's what the yeah, QAnon, is that what it, yeah, QAnon.
Yeah.
I and it's on its face, it sounds like it's very hopeful, and then they start getting into the Jew Trump trying to save everybody from the Jews. It's like,
Oh no.
how does that even work? Like, there's
He
no
married
logic.
the Jews.
I, how are you getting this? His handler, his son-in-law, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
They're just
he,
in such complete denial. I don't know.
it's hard, but you know, it's a process. Waking up is a process. It took me years to, get to Christian identity. Like I was telling Duck before y'all jumped in, I was a Judeo-Tard studying for 10 years, and I've only been at CI just less than 4. I mean, coming to the truth is extraordinarily difficult because you have to undo, like we were talking about last week or last time we were having our discussion. You have to undo all the lies that built your worldview and replace them one at a time with the truth.
Yeah. Reanalyze every single truth you thought you knew.
Exactly, because most of it's horse crap. And you have to figure out how to rebuild. And that's what I'm in the process of doing. That's why I'm not jumping around. I mean, it took Paul, the Apostle Paul, what, 3 years before he came out of hiding
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
And he
restudy.
studied his whole life.
He was Hebrew of Hebrews, as he said. Studied under Gamaliel. Again, phonetically, I don't care. Cry all you want.
He had to take out all that stuff to be able to go forward and preach the gospel.
Exactly.
And that's what a lot of the Judeo-Tards don't like. I don't get how they can read in Romans, Galatians, and Colossians how he goes literally to them and says, "Hey, you're physical descendants. You are under the cloud.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
are under the law.
You're under the law. You're under the cloud. Exactly.
What were those
Yeah.
verses? I can't remember off the top of my head. There's
Galatians 3 was Galatians 3 or Galatians 4 was, or no, maybe 5. You were under the law, and I think it was.
1
I want to say
Corinthians 10:1 is
the cloud.
the cloud, that they're all under the cloud with Moses, and then Romans 4:1 is that they are all of Abraham's flesh, all the Romans. And I try telling this to the Christians. They're like, "Oh, well, that's spiritual," and those are messages to everyone. Read the first line of these. It says, "To the Romans."
It doesn't say to niggers and Asians. It doesn't say that.
Being pretty specific.
Oh, absolutely. And the whole thing is spot on. You can't miss it when you know. When you know, you can't miss it.
Yeah.
But if you've never read the Bible, and I was listening to the Christogenea forum chat. What was it? Yesterday? Whenever I was listening to it. 5 hours. Whew. But at the beginning, within the first hour, they were talking about, I want to say like 90% of professing Christians don't even read their Bible.
That's true.
No.
And I know plenty
how,
who do.
how are you going to know?
They have to listen to frickin' what is it, like a review book. Otherwise, they won't even attempt it by themselves.
Yeah, Bible commentary.
Yeah, commentary. Tell me what to think so I can think.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, a lot of the people, the Matthew Henry commentary Bible. We'll have to read a MacArthur commentary Bible. There's all these. It's all theyese views, and they're trying to get you. It's what it is like a little mini. When you get one of these commentary Bibles, it's a little mini theological seminar.
Yeah.
Is what it is. And they're trying to get you to be engaged in a mode of thought that theirs is based around. And it's funny because I look at it as, in a way, when you get one of these commentary Bibles and you kind of like live by it, it's almost like a little form of idolatry. You're going based off the interpretation of a man, and it's unapologetically his own personal interpretation.
Yeah,
built on
exactly. Exactly, and they all expound upon older heretics, whether it's Wesley or Calvin or pick your Spurgeon, anybody.
Yes.
And back in my Judeo-Tard days, I had the entire encyclopedia thing of Charles Spurgeon, so I know a little bit. I had the entirety of, and this is before my divorce when I lost all my physical books. I had the entirety of the John MacArthur, James Montgomery Boyce commentaries and all this other stuff. I was, I mean, $10,000 worth of school books.
Wow.
So
I know if I want to get a laugh, I'll bring out. I have a old. It's not really old, dude. I don't know if you ever heard of it's an old Baptist preacher called Ruckman. I have a Ruckman reference Bible. If you want to laugh, you can bust that out and just laugh your ass off.
Man, you want a bigger laugh? Listen to people try to explain the Schofield.
Oh God, I've never read a Schofield or ever even attempted to.
I have
pieces of it.
I have. Okay, yeah, it's bad. It's bad.
In the Ruckman reference, he's got nigger in there.
Does he?
Yeah.
Okay. We're definitely gonna pull that out at some point soon.
I'll have to bring it. I'll have to bust it out. It's a little old and wore. I actually found it at a dollar store, and if you look at like one of these King James only Bible Baptist websites, they go for like almost $200. Anyway, he says nigger in his commentary. It's hilarious.
You know what? If most Bibles would say that under certain passages, we'd probably be all set. Our people would probably start waking up.
And I always go on standard, like if like we don't have to. I think I made a point. I was talking earlier on Gab, like a lot of Christian identity, which most of us go with more of the Christogenea leaning stuff, but there are other Christian identity, and we may have a little disagreements, but we should kind of all be unified. And race mixing is bad, right?
Oh yeah. Unlike that that mud sharker that you guys were arguing with, you and I think William Fink were arguing with.
Yeah.
What was his name? You said it earlier.
Dustin Nemos. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's got a gook wife or something.
Yeah.
But he's
And,
claiming to be Christian identity.
Yes.
No, fuck that.
That's the important thing, because that'll go. So that can bleed us back into back on track into Esau, the race mixer.
Yeah.
Do you
And
mind,
he,
do you mind if I throw
he had
something?
said earlier just because it was a forbidden line. I'm like, they're all forbidden, you idiot.
Can I throw something in then?
Please.
Yeah.
All right. So to get us a little back on track, Malachi 2:11, Judah hath dealt treacherously, and an abomination is committed in Israel and in Jerusalem, for Judah hath profaned the holiness of the Lord, which he loved, and hath married the daughters of a strange god.
Yep.
The point I want to make is the Judeos will always be like, well, it's the idolatry part that's the problem. It's not the marrying the strange woman. How come every single time it has to require marrying strange people in order to fall to idolatry? How come
Exactly.
it's not just flat out idolatry?
But why weren't Rachel and Leah
Exactly.
daughters of a strange god?
Yeah.
Why weren't they? Because what did Rachel do? She stole her father's idols.
Yeah. Sarah probably was a pagan when she met Abraham.
Yeah.
I can imagine. Rebecca was Isaac's wife, right?
Yep.
She was a pagan.
Exactly. And
then,
Laban, Jacob's soon-to-be father-in-law,
yeah.
him and his daughters and his sons were all pagans,
and
all worshiping idols.
Jacob technically married 4 of them.
Yeah.
And then Joseph married an Egyptian priest's daughter. Like, you don't get more pagan than that.
No.
But it's
cannot.
the daughters of strange gods that turn you to idolatry.
Yes.
Exactly. But you're right. People cannot grasp that concept.
Yeah.
These. If you look at every religion except for the white religion, and we can bust out comparison to the Nordic Thor, Odin nonsense to Christianity, but if you look at every other thing, whether it's Hinduism, Shintoism, shitfuckerism, whatever,
shitism,
it's always the origin comes from a serpent.
Mm-hmm. And they're good in their stories.
And so we'll jump back to the Odin religion. I don't know what the hell to call it.
Norse mythology.
Yeah, we'll call it Norse mythology. Which it is. Jorgamon was a product of birth from Loki, or Lucky, Lucifer, as you can phonetically sort of adjust it.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't necessarily say that they're one and the same, but Loki being a bastard child of Odin and whatever.
Odin was his
or whatever the hell it was.
But Loki gave birth to a snake, which gave and so Thor and Odin, the Valkyries, had to fight off the wicked and evil snake.
Mm-hmm.
Well, go to Christianity. What are the people of Yahweh fighting? The seed of the serpent.
Yeah.
So every other race has a religion where their origin comes from a serpent, whereas all the white religions that we can attest to have one where they have to fight off the serpent.
Mm-hmm. And in all these Eastern mythologies, these dragons are magical, wise creatures that teach them how to do magic.
Yeah, well, the dragons taught them what? How to bladesmith, how to
blacksmith, everything else.
Blacksmith.
It's a war that's been going on forever. It's these these Nephilim, angelic beings identifying as the serpent race constantly throughout time. And it's the same rhythm in every religion. It's just all different perspectives.
Yeah, but it goes back to Malachi, the daughters of a strange god.
Yeah.
Their god is literally literally a serpent.
Well, a detail
their creator.
A detail that you missed on the Norse stuff is because I was a pagan for a while, so I know a decent amount about it. But there's the gods, and then there's the giants. The giants are literal reflections of our biblical Nephilim. Loki was a child of one of the gods and one of the Nephilim giants.
Okay.
And his children, Hel and the serpent, were both products of him mixing with another giantess.
It's a chimera.
Yeah. So
okay.
And that goes back to Enoch stuff.
Yep. Where the fallen angels mated with all sorts of things.
And then his other kid was really weird. His 8-legged horse child,
Sleipnir.
Yeah. He. Do you know about this one?
I do.
I do.
Unfortunately,
He got
that's
turned into a
Odin's
female
horse.
horse and got banged by another horse, and then he gave birth to it. Yeah, like super gay shit. But then you got some of these pagans out there, not all of them, but some of them who worship Loki and whatnot. It's like, dude, you're worshiping a fake god.
it's like the gayest one. Come on.
Yeah. Oh no, I agree. I mean, part of me wonders if the Jews didn't slip in there and start altering their religion prior to
They did.
Okay, so I mean, at first it when you start reading the story straight out, it starts sounding like it's paralleled to Scripture, right? And then all of a sudden it goes into Thor was a tranny and a crossdresser, and Odin was a crossdresser, and you get into Loki turning into a tranny horse.
Yeah.
Like, where do you come up with this shit? It sounds like something out of a Jewish mind.
I don't have the book with me right now, but in the North people, like the Vikings and whatnot, for instance, they actually did loathe homosexuality. Like, it was like death penalty to insult a man of homosexuality. It was literally, you had to challenge him to fight to death after that. And that's probably one of the only things I'll disagree with like Fink and Bruce on, is like, I don't think the Vikings were as gay as they talk about. But there's definitely gay aspects in the story, like Loki. And yeah, Thor did the weird dress thing, but I wouldn't call it full on gay. I call it gay as in cross-dressing. But the one thing that a lot of people don't know about is Norse mythology magic. It's called Seether. It's a hard one to pronounce.
Okay.
Primarily only women would practice it because it was associated with being a homosexual. Because it was very sexual in nature. This is where we get the whole riding on a broomstick thing. Because they literally would shove a stick up their ass and ride into the spirit world. If you watch, what was that?
I remember reading some of that way back. Wow, I forgot about that till you just brought it up.
This is why Odin was kicked out of Asgard. Well, kicked himself out. Because he practiced that, and they all fucking didn't like it, because he was being a faggot. Because in order to do magic, you got to do faggy stuff to yourself. And if that Norse that Viking movie that came out, I can't remember what it's called. They call him the she witch, or the he witch. Sorry.
Okay.
There's a scene like he's like holding this dead head of the guy, and he's trying to communicate, like do necromancy to talk to him. And the hero goes and talks to the witch guy. The dude's rocking back and forth, shaking his ass, and I'm like, the people watching this don't realize he's fucking got probably something up his ass right now.
He's got a broomstick broken off in his ass.
It's super gay. That part's gay. That's why, like, if you were a male magic practitioner, they didn't let you in the village.
Well, I'm actually kind of glad we got into this. I mean, it would have probably been better for its own podcast.
I know I'm super deep. I'm sorry.
But I do apologize. The only point I was trying to make was the white race has to fight the serpent, and everybody else comes from a serpent of some sort.
Right.
That was the point that I was trying to make. But let's kick it off into Esau before we get going here.
Yes. Esau.
That's the most important thing. What is it? It's starting in Hebrews 12:16, and I just had it and I closed it. What an idiot.
Esau, Babelos is what you got written on your notes here.
That's impure. So yes, give me a second. 12:16. Lest there be any fornicator or profane person, as Esau, or such as Esau, who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright. Now, Esau sold his birthright before he was 40 years old. Esau was 40 years old in Genesis 26, where he took two wives of the Hittites. What was it? So Judith was the first one, and Bashema was the second.
Judith made the first Jew, technically.
Technically, that's what happened. That's where the Jews came from. They want to claim Judah. Well, Judith is the female form of Judah. There we go. And that's why they can still claim to be Judah, technically.
And why their lineage traces to mothers.
Correct. Exactly. So you knew exactly where I was going with that. So Bebelos, rather, profane means pure, impure, and common. It's not the term used for something that should never be consumed or unclean. It just he removed his birthright in 12:6, became impure because of his fornication, his pornos, G 4205.
It's really pornos for fornication.
Yeah.
Wow.
In the Greek.
Yep. Pornos. There's also porneo, which is I believe used in Revelation 2 for the doctrine of Balaam and the doctrine of Jezebel, and I believe it's also used in Jude. There we go, Jude 7.
So literally, the word porn is.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so from the Septuagint. Apocrypha, there we go. So from the Septuagint Apocrypha, Sirach 23:17, I wanted to read it from the Greek translation before we really go into Genesis on Esau, and it says, "To a fornicator, all bread is sweet. He will never weary until he dies." And so a fornicator will never stop fornicating, is what Sirach says. And that sex with anything is acceptable, and everything.
When you live by passion, you can only seek passion.
Oh yeah, you're literally consumed by it.
Yeah.
When you're trying to gratify yourself, and it's not even necessarily just sexually, but
given over to a reprobate mind.
Correct, absolutely. And so we can see that in Genesis 26, where Esau first takes his Canaanite wives, and Isaac and Rebekah were grieved at the end there of Genesis 26. The end of Genesis 27, Rebekah is weary for her life with Esau's race mixing. And in 28:1, Isaac charges Jacob to not take a wife of Canaan, as Esau did. I mean, these are different races. Obviously, you can tell the difference. Now, whether they were black or mulatto or whatever is irrelevant. The fact is you could tell the difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's probably the giant Neanderthal foreheads.
Oh, absolutely. Or that elongated jaw like a chimpanzee. Who knows?
Yeah.
We don't know. It's all conjecture at that point.
What do you mean? What's wrong with him? He looks fine.
Exactly. He's only got a third arm growing out of his ass. He's just a fallen angel mutant.
Wait, you don't want this in the kingdom of God? What?
But that's also another thing too. Is scientifically, it's these Jews that have dwarfism and giantism.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see
all
it.
defense. Yeah. Dysgenic.
Both sides of their faces are disproportionate.
Yeah, asymmetrical. I mean, it's creepy looking. It's what do they call it? Uncanny Valley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks human, but it's not.
eyes are. Well, it's weird because like their eyes are either too close or too far apart. They never really go in the right spot.
No, they never do. So before we get into Jude 7 actually defining what fornication is,
Mm-hmm.
you know, Esau back to Genesis 28 in verse 9, in order to make up for his screw up, and to if you read the rest of it, it's almost as he's trying to get his birthright back from Isaac to prove that he's worthy.
Yeah.
So what does he do? He jumps back to finding a daughter of Ishmael now,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and that was no good.
Well,
That was absolutely no good.
and we know that he didn't learn his lesson either, because when Jacob came back through and sought passage through his land, he wanted him to come to the mountain with him and fornicate with all his kids and just mix
Yep.
it all up.
No.
Yep. Exactly.
There's something I wanted to make note. Like whenever you like with these other groups and their in-group preference, like when they're protesting, like Black Lives Matter, for example, all the niggers that you deal with and that protest here in America, they're mamsers too. They're mutants. They're not full black. They're mixed between niggers and white people and everything else. But if you notice, it's like their nature. They are compelled to mix with us, even though they hate us and everything else. This was way back, and I'd gotten into an argument with one of them, and he was so it ended up where I was pointing out a crime statistic, and instead of him taking responsibility to black people being behind that, he tried to move to white people more responsible for this crime over here. And I showed him where that was. For some reason, they really can't understand per capita. It's like magic to them.
No, they can't. But they can't understand abstract concepts. There's no abstract thinking.
And so this is on Facebook, and so I wasn't gonna cuss him out and slur him up. So I just tried to stay family friendly a little bit with him. But as I was going, I know he started talking about how white people are Neanderthal mutants. He started with all the anti-white, nigger conspiracy stuff. And he started going how we're all this horrible. Well, I clicked on his profile and he's like hanging out with like white girls, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, so I'm thinking, and so I asked him, I said, okay. So I said, all right, fine, I'll relent. We're these horrible, evil monsters. So why are you hanging out and wanting to mix with us? I said, I said, your Black Lives Matter stuff, I see, and I notice a lot of race mixing. How can you be for your own people if you're hell bent on mixing yourselves out of existence? And he would not address what I said. And so it's just in their nature. They're compelled, no matter how much they say they hate us or whatever, they are compelled to mix with us. It's like by nature what they're like compelled to do.
It's envy.
Well, they're naturally hypocrites. They're naturally lustful beasts. I mean, the only thing they know is sex.
Yeah, that's like all it's just impulse and what I think I said it last time. It's like high time preference, low IQ. They literally live in the moment. They can't see in front or behind.
Control.
So I'll share a story from my TikTok, right? I obviously they're all banned now, pretty much. There was one guy saying we would be much better off without you blacks, whatever. And I said, or rather, we would be just fine without you, rather. And I responded to his little TikTok and said, actually, no, we would be much better off without them.
Yeah.
And the niggers that came into that fucking TikTok chat to tell me that they were going to rape my sister, my mother, this thing, everything was sexual. Like nobody tried to drop an argument against what I had said, like at all. It was all, I'm going to fuck your mother, I'm going to rape your sister. Like, first off, and that's what I said. I said, thank you for proving we are much better off without you.
They get angry at the fact that they know that we don't like them, and even though we can be nice to them and everything else, they hate the fact that we don't want them marrying us or anything else. It's really weird dynamic when you sit back and think of it. They hate and envy us, and we can't they know that they already know instinctually that you don't want to be around them, and they hate you for it.
Oh, it's a deep schizophrenia their worldview. Like they're absolutely they want to have our women, but they despise us. They don't want their own bastard offspring that they create with these white women, which is why these white women almost always end up single.
Yeah.
I was reading something last year. I wish I could find it again. It was some kind of study done back in, I think, the 80s or 90s. Giving birth to one of them as a white woman requires a C-section almost every time. They can't pass.
Really?
They can't pass a Negro through the birth canal.
Thanks, Jew medicine, for that.
Yep.
That's interesting. If you can look that up, share that.
I've been desperately trying to find it again. My guess is it was scrubbed as soon as somebody found.
I have noticed a lot of like information on miscegenation that used to be fairly easy to get a hold of is like now just disappearing off the
Gone.
internet. And then whenever you can find it, it's from like a like on Facebook, for example. If you find information on miscegenation, something like scientific stuff, if it's even associated with a certain website, it won't allow you to post it.
Exactly.
And it's like, well, this isn't a bad website, and it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter if it's the NIH or the CDC that posts the information. Like it won't let you click on the link. It's you have to go looking at these websites. And there's also stuff on miscegenation on the CDC and NIH and
they talk about how they need blood from mixed race people because they're in desperate need of it because the mixed race people can't receive blood from either parent half the time. And actually, isn't it like almost every time they can't receive blood from the parent unless the parent themselves is some type of mixed race? So
it's bone marrow. So the blood can be in most circumstances, but usually you need mongrel blood anyways. But it's the bone marrow that unless it's a mongrel of the same stock, like so.
Yeah,
so
they have to
both
be like mixed. Okay, yeah.
Well, no, because you can't have a mixed Oriental white.
Yeah, but they'd have to be a mixed white and a mixed black white, and a mixed black white could give each other blood, but not a mixed white Oriental to a mixed.
Yeah, exactly. So, but even I think it's even deeper than that. There was something I was reading there. I think it's like if there's like a 75% Negro that has a child with 75 with 100% white, right? You got to break it down to like that other mongrel child's black parent has to be 75%. It's very specific. Like it'll kill them otherwise. The only reason the mongrels can actually live is through modern Jew science.
Yeah,
literally.
How's it going, National Eagle? I'll just introduce you real quick.
Yep.
I'm doing all right. It's nice to be back. Didn't think I'd have to. Oh, wait, sorry. Didn't think I'd be back because I'm on the road and back to college.
Well, I'm glad you can make it. Even if you're just listening, I would feel free to have some input. Just be safe.
Yeah, exactly. Just listen, chill out, relax, have fun.
We were just about to jump into.
Try not to die.
Yeah, we were just about to jump into Jude, and then we got off on a little bit of a fun story loop.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Sounds awesome.
Say again.
Sounds awesome.
All right. So now that we've hit basically all of Esau's race mixing crap from Hebrews 12 all the way back to Genesis 26 through 28, what is fornication? Now I have it written down here, but does anybody else want to hit it up, or you want me to keep going?
I've never been good at explaining this one per se.
I've got the Against Heresies handbook pulled up right here.
Sweet.
It goes over it if you want for me to read. It's actually kind of long, but it's on fornication / adultery, and it goes into it and gives some definitions in the Greek and Hebrew and everything. All stuff we already all know, but I would say, Duck, if you can, you need to like give a like link in maybe your description, a link to the Heresy's Handbook for others that gets a good, concise explanation of all the terms on that.
Is there any more details
Absolutely.
to the book? Heresy's Handbook, and that's it?
Huh?
Is it just Heresy's Handbook?
Um,
It's something that somebody else was doing for, I think, for William Fink on Christogenea, if I'm not mistaken,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
I can share a link to it if you'd like.
If you want, like, I'm totally cool with you just reading some.
Okay.
Yeah, because
That'll work.
it's good for everybody who doesn't have time then.
Okay. All right. Fornication, adultery. The words fornication and adultery have been satanically corrupted over time. I'm going to try not to paraphrase too much, guys. Out of the 10 commandments, having both, you shall not commit adultery and you shall not cover your neighbor's wife, may seem redundant. We argue that these are not overlapping commandments, as fornication and adultery are meant to mean race mixing or confusing the seed as within a race, not knowing the father, as shown below. For adultery, and as we will see, adulteration, adulterate, Eichmann has under adulteration, act of adulterating, state of being debased by mixture with something else, generally of inferior quality. From Latin adulterationem, nominative adulteratio, and adulteration, sophistication, noun of action for past participle stem, adulterate, blah, blah, blah. See Isaiah 57, 3-4. Children of sin, debauch, commit adultery. For fornication, under the 5th entry, it relates to fornication to bastardy. As an adjective from late, it is used of things spurious or not genuine. Latin root of gen, like gene or genos. Strong's G1085 race stock, having the appearance of being genuine or abnormal or regular shape. Size, mongrels, mixed breeds. And it goes on, and here it says the Greek word makio is translated into the English as to commit adultery. The same Greek word is translated into Latin Vulgate as adulterate or adulterabus, inflections of adultero. Matthew 5:32, Romans 13:9. In English, this is generally translated from the Latin as you shall not commit adultery. The Latin meaning of adultero is to mix substances or kind with another, adulterate. And so, genuine, whenever you say adultery today, I'm not reading it now, but that everyone just thinks that means to cheat on your wife or your husband.
Yep.
And the original, how it was put, and I like how he talks about it at the beginning of this little article. Why would you put in to commit adultery where I already had not your neighbor's, covet your neighbor's wife or spouse or whatever? That wouldn't make sense.
Exactly, because your
completely
neighbor is your neighbor is your brother. That's the whole point, and we'll get into that on another day when we hit Matthew and Leviticus.
Yeah, and he goes over in Sodom and Gomorrah. It wasn't just them being a bunch of faggots, but them going after strange flesh. And we, of course, that leads up into Jude, which defines it as fornication. We already knew what that meant.
Yeah, but the Greek word there is 2087, G2087 in the Strong's, and the Greek is heteros, which literally just means different.
I'm going to read it out loud for the group. So
absolutely.
In Jude 1:7 specifically, even as Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities about them in a like manner, giving themselves over to fornication and going after strange flesh, are set forth for an example, suffering the vengeance of eternal fire. How many of you have had the Judeos say that somehow strange is actually the word the same?
Yeah, all the time.
Well, and that's just it. Like especially when it comes to Sodom and Gomorrah, everybody assumes it's faggotry.
Yeah.
Yeah, they get
which that's part of it, but
well, yes. I mean, porneos, their Greek 2087. It does mean sexual perversions of pretty much any kind, anything that's unnatural. The root word pornos, as we were just reading from Hebrews 12:16, which is G4205, pornos, catamate is pretty much any sexual depravity. It doesn't matter if you're having sex with a car.
Mm-hmm.
It's fornication.
There's only one right way to do it.
Exactly, and that would be different steel, not different flesh. But again, two white faggots are the same flesh.
Yeah.
You can't get around that. The sin is going after different flesh. Something that does
Asians
not
are
look
okay.
like you.
Remember, Asians are okay.
Yes, I forgot. I gotta get the Orientals in there. But it's mind blowing that the whole argument is that this is required. The requirement for their argument to be sound and solid is that it has to do with faggotry.
Yeah. And even in that, like Esau, I know we already went over, but he did not have extramarital affairs.
No, he was.
We know that it points out. Yeah.
He seemed like a very loyal and loving husband. I'm not going to lie. He seemed like a really good white man.
He even knew their father's names.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So him, sleeping around on his old ladies. I mean, I guess the only thing you could try to use right there would be polygamy. The only thing you could try to use is like an argument to reinforce that.
Exactly. Polygamy is not even condemned in Scripture anywhere.
Exactly.
It's just suggested to not do it, pretty much.
Yeah. It's not a good idea if you've ever.
We all know the fornication he was guilty of was race.
Hey, does anyone in this group chat think they got more ability to handle more than just one woman at a time? No.
Hell no.
Yeah.
Financially, no. I mean,
mentally,
no.
When one's on the rag and being a complete, maybe having a second one who's not on the rag to not be that way would be a good idea.
Well, if you put them both in the same house, they'll start to match each other's fucking periods and shit.
Again, a financial problem because you'd have to buy a couple of separate houses to keep them separate.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just look
keep wrecking each other's car because they can't drive. Just playing.
Look at Jacob's wives. They were sisters and they still couldn't get it together.
No, they couldn't stand each other.
It was a competition.
Yeah, absolutely. Leah, the least favorite wife, gave birth to Judah, who was to be the ruler of the 12 tribes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the least favorite wife gives birth to one of the most important figures.
Yeah.
Because it was still a legitimate birth, though.
Correct.
Yes.
But it's also a problem. But anyways, going back to Esau.
Yeah.
There's nothing in Scripture to imply that he was disloyal anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Anywhere. Which means that his fornication was the pursuit of different flesh. And like we were saying earlier, it was obvious that these people looked different.
Yeah. And they pained his mom. It means they didn't. She's like, "Ugh, not these things in my house." Can you imagine?
They were even
Isaac
nuts.
Exactly.
Bring that nigger bitch to my house.
It's like having Thanksgiving dinner and then got two freaking jigaboos running around with their freaking little nigglets going nuts. God damn, I would be pissed too.
Yeah. It's mind blowing. It's the fact that Judaism they can't. And I'm avoiding using the Tardism in there. The fact that the Judaism they can't grasp that simple concept is just proof that the brainwashing is so
thorough.
Yeah, exactly. Like the fact that I was able to come out of this nonsense is nothing short of a miracle. And I'm sure you guys coming from where you came from probably can say the same thing.
Yeah.
It's a brutal lie that just to be able to get undone is damn near impossible. It's and I've seen Duck arguing with Judeos constantly. Well, not constantly, but when he's arguing with them, he's literally just giving them information and they're throwing it right back. They're throwing the information pretty much right back in his face. And I'm like, what am I even just gonna do to respond to this? There's no point in responding because all they do is they use the same damn verses.
Yeah, and I actually was doing a test yesterday. I just had 2 verses, and I just wanted them to acknowledge them, and they couldn't do it. Jeremiah 31:31, Matthew 15:24, and he refused to acknowledge it, and said that I was trying to contradict Scripture, and I was saying this confirms the Scripture that the word "world" is in context.
Yeah, I sent that clown the screenshots of what world actually used to mean. No response from him.
Good.
But then again, I think that thread's broken now anyway, so.
Yeah, it's so piled up you can't even go back and see it. Actually, those are reposts from a longer one.
Oh, man. Yeah. God bless you, brother, because I wouldn't be able to handle that for that long.
Hey, I don't have the skills of knowledge like you guys do or the time to read, so this is how I'm going to use my talents.
You know what? And even if you just win one of your kinsmen over, you've done Yahweh a huge service, and you've performed exactly how we are supposed to.
Like I always say, for every one guy I argue with, there is at least 10 people reading it and probably silently agreeing.
Yep.
And
exactly.
Remember, I was going to say you have an audience.
Yeah.
Whenever you're doing this, it's not that you're trying to necessarily, of course, if you can change whoever you're arguing with, change their mind, that's great. But remember, you don't know how many seeds you could be planting for people to actually stop, and all the links that you share. This could help catapult them into their own little personal awakening and everything else. And it's not a waste of time. A lot of people say arguing is a waste of time, which a lot of times it is, of course. But you never know who's watching.
And that's the good thing with Duck is he doesn't actually argue, and that's what I don't do. I don't argue. It's like, here's the information. This is how I got to where I'm thinking. Yeah. I don't sit there and debate it.
Yeah.
There's no point. If you don't agree with me, that's fine. I don't care. You don't have to come quoting out of context verses like John 3:16. It's not going to work.
Yeah, it's their
I know what
verse.
I know what the Equimene is, and I know what the cosmos is. You don't.
Exactly.
But going back to our original Esau fornicator. This is why in Malachi 1 verses 1 through 4, and Romans 9 verse 13, and Romans 9 verse 21, this is what the Edomites are now.
Mm-hmm.
Yahweh hates them. So we'll jump into Malachi real quick here because that's important. Romans 9:13 is basically just Paul quoting it briefly. But the burden of the word of Yahweh to Israel by Malachi. I have loved you, says Yahweh. Yet you say, wherein have you loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother? Says Yahweh. Yet I love Jacob and I hate Esau. Now these are perfect tense words. So
these completely translate to hate. Yeah.
It's a pure hatred. It's not hated as in the past tense like it's translated. It's I hate him yesterday, today, and forever.
Yeah.
There's no in betweens. There's no I used to hate him. I used to hate him.
You hear people all the time, oh, God doesn't hate. You share that. Well, that's not what that means. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, no, it's a pure righteous hatred. People can't understand that.
Everything Esau did was contrary to God's will.
Esau's the reason. I think it's in Kings or Second Kings or Second Chronicles as to why Jerusalem fell to Babylon. And then what did they do? They basically did everything that the jigaboos do now: rape, pillage, and murder when shit's going south.
Yeah.
And that's what they did. And so, anyways, back to verse 3 here, and and I hate Esau, and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. Again, we're going back to what? Dragons. So other beasts have come, biped beasts have come and messed up Esau or Edom. Whereas Edom says, we are impoverished, we will return and build the desolate places. Thus says Yahweh of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down. They shall call them the border of wickedness. What do we see in Mount Seir today? What they call Israel. That is the border of pure wickedness.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what do? They rape a child over here or in Europe or Australia. They go over there immediately.
Greeted like heroes.
Yeah, and they're greeted like heroes. Exactly. And this people against whom Yahweh has indignation forever. There's nothing there that says that he hated them but will save them. And then going back to Romans, the Romans 9:21, the Apostle Paul talking about, and back in verse 13, talking about or quoting Malachi, comes back later and talks about the potter and the making of the clay from the same lump. Well, Esau and Israel are from Abraham, as we were discussing earlier, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
these children of the flesh and these children of the promise, the potter has the right to make the Israelites for mercy and the Edomites for destruction in Romans 9:21. And people cannot grasp that concept that this is an actual racial problem.
Yeah. And God told Esau that because of the violence you did against your brother, shame shall cover you completely, and you shall be cut off forever. They're done for.
Exactly. And so I'll read Romans 9:21 for what it says. Has not the potter power over the clay of the same lump to make one vessel unto honor and then one unto dishonor? If God is willing to show his wrath and to make his power known, endured with much long suffering the vessels of wrath fitted for destruction. In other words, he's intentionally allowing them to do what they're doing right now before he lays waste to them.
Yeah.
He's allowing their wicked, evil nature to completely manifest.
Sin lieth at the door.
And exactly. And like we were talking about earlier, we have them exposing themselves pretty much now on a daily basis. Yeah. They can't even keep the lies going, and now they're literally just admitting to everything almost.
They've gotten pretty comfortable, haven't they?
Oh, way too comfortable.
No, they think that their Messiah crap is going to unleash soon, so they're showing their hand.
Yep. Well, and that's the thing. That's why they got to be the most schizoid creatures on earth. They think that them as a whole are their own Messiah. Mm-hmm. They think that they're their own God, but they hate the Messiah. Yeah. They hate God, and I think they were talking about this same exact problem in the Talmud on the Christogenea Open Forum. But they worship themselves. They hate themselves. They're just absolutely chaotic mental cases. Schizoids.
Yeah. There's no higher power but them and their own understanding and everything.
It goes back to the medical thing with mixing the races. They are the most mixed races, and well, what else do they have in common? The most unique diseases.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially mental.
They're like the perfect example of why you shouldn't race mix.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, what did they were going to be a proverb and a taunt?
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, proverbially, they're the perfect example as to why you should not have bastard slips.
Like, this is why, people.
This is exactly it.
You have a whole group of people claiming that they're the original whatever, and they've completely ripped off the belief system and corrupted it, and now this is what we got: a bunch of schizophrenic, race mix, insane people. Great.
Yeah.
Good job, everybody.
Exactly. It's honestly horrifying when you really break it down to its nuts and bolts. I mean, they are that bad.
Yeah. There's no good in them, as just as Christ was telling them even back then.
Exactly.
Only hope we have now is Malachi 4:1. For behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven, my favorite word.
Yep.
And all the proud, yea, and all that do wicked shall be stubble. And the day cometh that shall burn them up, saith the Lord of hosts, that it shall leave them neither root nor branch. Tree
now, Duck. Duck, you know that's just spiritual.
Yeah.
I'm going to get my
He's
spiritual
talking about
bramble
all the people
burned
that don't. Yeah, that's all the people that don't believe in Jeebus.
Yeah, exactly.
And the Jewish Jeebus came for everybody on the whole planet.
Yep. Didn't come for his own. Didn't come for the lost sheep for the house of Israel.
Pikes, gooks, and all.
Well, real quick, are we kind of got a good hold on Esau then?
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to add?
I think we expounded upon it pretty good. Is there anything else that you want to add to Esau?
I think I got all my points out.
Yeah, okay. Because I mean, obviously, he's the first under the Abrahamic covenant to fall away, which is why we, shortly after hitting the whole tree issue, going into Esau was so important.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, once later on down the road, as we're talking, we'll be able to expound upon Numbers 22 to 25 with the doctrine of Balaam, and I want to say 1 Kings 16 with the doctrine of Jezebel, which is very barely mentioned, but
that's going to be good.
Yeah, so I think we got the basics out of the way. We covered the trees, we covered Adam, and then we covered the first race mix being of Eve with the serpent to a certain extent.
Can I cover kind after kind a little bit?
And we covered kind after kind, which all these concepts will be being regurgitated.
Yeah.
As we go further into exploring these other doctrines and stuff and backing it all up with scripture. Like today, I intentionally didn't use anything from Christogenea because I would rather people know that, I actually think these things through. I don't sit there. I don't worship William Finck, even though I think he's great and his work is fantastic. And he's a hell of a lot smarter than I could ever dream of being. But at the end of the day, you have to come to this on your own. You can't just sit there and use somebody else who's smarter than you as an excuse to be lazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Remember, like how I was saying earlier with the commentary Bibles, it's the same system of getting lazy and complacent and not actually sitting there and trying to read or understand it yourself. You're just regurgitating your little mini seminary in front of you.
Exactly. And so today, outside of Faust reading the heresies from Christogenea on fornication, outside of that, I mean, anything that was incorrect, I mean, that was on us. If we messed something up, or we left something out, it's on us. It's what it is.
Let us know in the comments below.
Yeah.
Yes, and we'll show you how much we actually care.
Yeah.
But in all honesty, I think we all did a great job here, and it's a vast, comprehensive thing to cover. We could go on for days just covering trees and the Garden of Eden.
Well, once you realize its
Um,
truth, it is the entire book.
Yeah.
oh yeah. Once you start realizing that Genesis 2 is
The whole book
uh,
is all racial. That's what it's based around completely. It's a book of the white race.
Genesis 6:9. Noah was perfect in his generations. That word for generations is Genesis, which is the book of Genesis.
Yeah.
That's the first time you see that. And it literally means pure in his descent, his genealogy, his
Meaning,
race.
meaning he wasn't a race mixed monster mutant thing.
Straight from the line of Adam and Eve through Seth.
Well, I think that is a good point to stop. Honestly, we can make a part two,
Absolutely.
jumping into the Balaam and what was the other one?
Balaam and Jezebel.
Jezebel. Yes.
We'll start off with those. I mean, those will be short. I don't like I said, we're not here to make an expository
Yeah, it's a chill
less
session.
lesson. Exactly. We have plenty of links for Christogenea issues on these things where William Finck, thank God for somebody that can actually expound upon these things for hours at a time. I mean, I've listened to like some of his podcasts that are 3 hours on these things. And, you know, ironically, the guy never misses. But that's not what we're here for. We're here to show that these things are possible to understand without the the guidance, so to speak, of somebody who's been studying for almost 30 years. You can learn these things. There is hope, and our kinsmen got to wake up.
Yeah.
There's no way around it.
Just
If
turn
they
off the
don't,
TV.
that's the best start you could ever have. I haven't watched TV in years. That's probably how I ended up on Christian Identity anyway.
You'll find how much you find it surprising how much time you'll have if you don't watch this stupid thing.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
All right. Well,
You'll
I'm gonna tie it up here. I'm gonna re-reference the books we said.
Yep.
So we got published in 1846, John Harris, The Pre-Adamic Earth. 1860s, Isabella Duncan, The Pre-Adamites, or the Story of Our Planet and Its Inhabitants. The Heresy's Handbook on Christogenea. Matthew Fleming's Stephenson. Pretty much just Google him and look up anything he has. Racer Mongrel, the book. And Alexander Winchell, Adamites and Pre-Adamites. And also, I want to put one more book in there. I know a lot of people hate Charles Weisman, but he did one good book that I liked. It is literally just quoting laws that were put into place by the founding fathers and all the colonists beforehand. And if we understand that the Constitution wasn't the overall like lord of the land law, and that each state actually governed themselves and had their own constitutions, he points out that how all the original constitutions had anti-mixing laws, anti-black people being people laws, and his book is Free, White, and Christian. It is a really good book. So, with that, thank you guys all for coming.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks, Scattered, for the idea. That was cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously we'll pick it up again with we'll discuss it further obviously over the next couple of weeks, but
Yeah.
picking it up with Balaam and Jezebel.
Thanks again for listening, Eagle.
Thanks for having me.
Hey,
Thank you.
Drive safe. All right. Good night, guys.
Good night. Yahweh bless.